I gotta tell you, I was just so naive. I think as a white dude, I had no idea that when the blueprint that we drew up to like have a studio that's multicultural and we'll bring in a whole bunch of different aspects from different cultures, man, this is gonna be so cool to share each other's cultures, things that we normally don't have in common, be educated by each other, really embrace having a very diverse studio.
Yeah, diversity was super important. And also, too, like, I think exposure and hearing about other people's experiences leads to understanding. Understanding leads to empathy, and it just leads to a kinder society.
So white guy over here is like, this is gonna be awesome, man. This is just gonna be awesome. But I couldn't have anticipated what the pressure would be like for Mo in the black community. And now I think that just Romeo is feeling the same thing in the Latino community.
Yeah, 100%. And when I first started here, it was really cool, like getting the messages of like, oh wow, like you have a Hispanic person, you have a Latin person on the show, like we feel seen, we feel represented, like it's awesome, like you're putting us on the map, kind of thing. And like people are like, I got emails of like, yo, like my son can like look up to somebody on the radio now, and we listen to the show every morning, and now for him to like connect with somebody is awesome. And I remember at first that the pressure. I was terrified, like, because I know anytime that I come on here, I'm gonna get some sort of like feedback from the Latin community more than anything, and I didn't realize that it was gonna be from them. I in a weird way, like I was expecting, like in a way, white people not to like me. That's just like expected. I felt like I was gonna get emails by that, and It was like cool, yeah, because I mean it's always hard to be accepted anywhere.
I get that.
And so, but what took me by surprise was the amount of people, or Hispanic people and Latin people, who always had something to say and criticize anything that I talked about. And it was whatever reason, like whether I focused on the fact that I talked about having DACA and not being able to pay for my financial fees to it. And then they're talking, and somebody messaged me and they're like, hey dude, like you focus too much on how much it costs and like how like big of a struggle it is for you and this and that, when other people are like, just hustle, we work out here and this and that. And I was like, I never said we didn't work. Mm-hmm. It's just, that's my struggle, and that was my issue. And then just last week, you brought me in for a segment about your friend who his boss, white boss, talks to him in Spanish. And one of the things I said...
And my dude doesn't know Spanish.
Right.
He's Mexican, but he doesn't know Spanish.
And you asked me if people come up to me and approach me with just talking immediately in Spanish. And I said yes, and I get bothered by that because I sometimes feel belittled by it. And I said, like, I took my time to learn English, and like I would like for them to respond. And I got a DM from a listener, and it just, I try not to read, to be honest with you, DMs or emails, just because I think they always bring me down. Mm-hmm. Even like tweets and things like that, they always bring me down. So I've learned to just stay away from them as much as possible. But I, for some reason, read this one, and it really got to me, because what she told me was that the real honor is making it to the top and not forgetting where you come from. Don't lose our culture and our language. You're going places, and stay humble. And so she took offense to the fact that I said that I took time to learn English, and I would like for people to talk to me in English.
Why is that offensive to somebody in your community?
I don't know. To be honest with you, I think she said that pretty much she, like, majority of the Latin community knows English, and therefore, like, I'm pretty much saying, like, I think she took it in a way where I'm forgetting where I'm coming from, and I'm trying to hide the fact that I know Spanish, or whatever the reason is. When I said that, I was referring to the amount of times that white people have approached me and talked to me in Spanish mm-hmm. to begin with, and for me, that's always felt like a mockery. Like, it's never been like a thing where if somebody, like a white guy, comes up to me and they're like, "Oh, like what's happening?" Like, you know, like it's just or like they come up and they're like, "¿Cómo estás, amigo?" And it's just like no, we can talk in English. It's mm-hmm. cool. But if I'm going into a Salvadorian bakery and they talk to me in Spanish, I understand why they're talking to mm-hmm. me in Spanish. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to be like, no, talk to me in English. That's stupid. And so I typically try not to respond, but like the fact that she told me to stay humble and to not forget where I'm coming from, and that I forget who I am, and that I'm not representing the Latin community in the right way, got to me, because like I didn't ask for this, truthfully. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't think I didn't know that coming up here. I think my the way I'm looking at it is just that anytime I come here, I feel like I've heard this so often, like, in the moment, Romeo is so different from the Bert show Romeo. And for the longest time, I was trying to figure out why is that? And I think in the moment, I feel like I'm not representing anybody. Mm-hmm. I'm just talking about myself, mm-hmm. my life, and it's just me. I don't care what you have to think about me. I'm gonna say some wild stuff, and that's just myself. But when I come on here on the Bert Show, it feels like I'm representing so many more like people behind me, and I have an image to protect, and I have to say the perfect thing, the right thing, and I just don't know what to do because I literally thought the other day, I was like, damn, I wish I was white. Because honestly, like, I can come on here and just tell my story and nobody would care. It would just be another story and that's it. But I come on here and I share my journey, my life, my issues, my struggles, my anxiety, my stuff. And you may not relate to it. You might have a completely different, like, life story, and you might have different issues and different struggles, and they may not relate to you at all. And we can both be Salvadorians. And we have completely different life stories, and maybe I'm not representing you the right way. And so to me, that's what got to me.
I'm sorry you guys have that pressure, man. I'm certain that you've leaned on Mo here because he has struggled with this the whole time you've been on the Bert Show.
Yeah, we talk about it all the time. And one of the things that is not a race thing, which you eventually learn in radio, is that people hear what they want. Oh, man, do they? And you find yourself constantly trying to defend things that you didn't say, that you didn't mean. But when you do get on a platform like this and you create this diverse environment, there is a certain level of pride and within your culture of where people want to be represented in a perfect light all the time. And it's impossible to do that. You truly do have to get to a point where you realize, listen, ultimately, it's a bit of irony in that we are always preaching that we're all not the same, right? Like we just spoke about this the other day. One black person does something, it doesn't mean that's how all black people behave. But then on the other end of that, if one black person gets on a white show, every black person expects that black person to be like every other black person. And it's like, we're not
pressure.
That's impossible.
It's impossible. We're not always going to agree. We're not always going to see things the same. Our struggles may be different. At the bottom of it, yes, we have a lot of similarities and we share a lot of the same struggles, and we all get on these platforms and try to represent our culture as best as you possibly can. But ultimately, you are never going to be perfect in that regard.
I said to Mo a couple of weeks ago, that I'm starting to understand why there aren't more shows like The Bert Show. There certainly are morning shows that have different cast members that come from different cultures, but most of those shows are really superficial, man. They keep it nice and light. Everything is awesome, and you can pull off a show like that when you're really not being authentic. But we have told you guys that we try. I mean, it's impossible to do a radio show and be 100% authentic. There are things going on in my life that I embellish. There are things going on in my life I don't want you guys to know about, right? But we try to be as authentic as possible. And to me, that's the beauty in this show, is that you guys should be able to come in here, be your authentic selves. And my hope for your communities was like, hey, that he might not be like me, but I still am glad that I have representation in this very mainstream platform that is on around the country. And I guess it's really disappointing, and it's kind of deflating to hear that from you guys.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to say it's disappointing. I feel like this is just it's a beautiful learning moment for everybody that, you know, you can come on here and you can share your life experiences, and it doesn't have to represent an entire, I don't think it's fair to put that on any one person to represent an entire community or culture. You are a person in that culture, and that is your experience, and to be able to differentiate the two.
And what I try to get across to Romeo is it takes time to really start to feel comfortable in that situation, because the reality of it is with great responsibility, right? That's what comes with it. And it's not a majority thing. I don't know about Romeo, but at least for me, the majority of black people love that I'm in this seat and love how I represent and love how I talk about the culture and how I'm unapologetically black. But you do get a few people who just for whatever reason would like to hang on to the one thing you said that they didn't agree with, or the one thing where they felt like it was different. And because you can't help typically but take so much pride in yourself and in your culture, those one or two things will really get to you and bog you down and start to have you question yourself and if you really are who you think you are. And that's tough. That's a tough moment and situation to get through. But eventually, once you get to the place where you're just comfortable with who you are and you're comfortable in any room and in any environment, it doesn't affect you as much.
How do you get over that self-doubt?
For me, it was therapy. A lot of reflecting and just time, just being patient with yourself. Like this is new. If you are not accustomed to having these many opinions and in having to be like your authentic self in environments where you're not exactly sure if everybody's going to appreciate or receive it, it's a very new experience. And I think you fight yourself because you want to get it immediately, but it's one of those things that just takes a lot of time.
It's I'm coming from a very different age than you are also, right? So it's very difficult to shake me from who I know I am. You know, I've done a lot of therapy and I got years on you, man. But at your age, I would have been shooketh also, right? And I think what it comes down to is really knowing who you are. You cannot control how people perceive the words that are coming out of your mouth, man. That is a sure way to burn yourself out. All you can do is be your authentic self, but being in the convincing game, I really wish I would have learned this earlier, is impossible.
Yeah, no, and I did respond to the listener just because I felt a certain way, and I was really proud because my first draft was a little too straightforward, so I had to take a second to like rewrite it, and all I had to say was like, you know, like what, at the end of the day, I try my best to come on here and share my story and try to be a good representation of our community, and if she took offense by that, that was on her. Like I saw that was what's offensive to me, and that was what I felt like was my thing, and so I just had to say, like, I apologize for if you felt like I didn't represent you in a manner that I should have. And
I don't even know why you got to apologize for the way she's feeling, man. I don't know, dude.
I mean, if that's what you felt like you wanted to do and needed to do, then that's what you got to do.
Maybe I am super, super naive to believe like a show like this can coexist. Everybody can be happy, even with all the chatter in our ears, man. But I am holding on to that naivety because I think it can be done. But it takes a lot of strength. Like people don't this is a taxing job. Look, this isn't a hard job. This isn't construction. We're not working in an ER. It's just a taxing job for these reasons here, is that there is constant input coming in, and you could spend all day long trying to defend yourself, and it's draining rather than coming in here and just being your authentic self, which I think you've just been doing a fantastic job, man. And if you let that get to you, then they are taking away from your eventual success. You start backing out now, that's not what this studio needs. That's not what the next studio needs. So refuse to let them win.
yeah.
Ingrid, good morning. You're on the Bert Show.
Good morning, first-time caller. I'm a Hispanic female, and I was really moved by what was being discussed. And so I pulled the car over and called right away. I just wanted to encourage you as a fellow Hispanic. I'm Puerto Rican, and even outside of radio, I have encountered exactly what you're talking about, where people expect me to represent Puerto Ricans in my case. Or Hispanics or Latinos, in a specific way. Oh, well, all of us are this way or all of us are that way. Yes, my culture, I'm very proud to be Latina, and my culture does affect, certain perspectives and things about me. But at the same time, I'm me. And so wherever I go, I do encounter other Latinos that expect me to behave or react in a certain way. But you know what? I have other Hispanic friends that live all over the world, and each of us agree, the ones that have specifically traveled a lot and been in other circles, agree that each of us are Latino and have certain specific things that are similar, but we're all individuals also, despite our culture, or maybe because of it. And so I encourage you to just keep being you, and not allowing our people can sometimes be harsh on ourselves, like each other, and just don't allow that to color what you decide to share, because your contribution is really important with your perspective. And we're not going to always be shading in the same exact expressions and ideas and perspectives. So I just want to encourage you, just continue to be you as a Hispanic male. Just continue to be you in your experience, in your generation, in your culture. So
it's a great call.
Don't give up.
Thank you for calling. Appreciate it. Make you feel a little bit better?
Yeah, for sure.
It's a beautiful call.
The Bert Show.
Like what you just watched? Well, you can get a lot more of The Bert Show for free on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.